So funny story. My daughter decided to clean out her room, and we have a weird thing in our family that's been going on since our kids were born, and that is that they want to sleep with us, and we are bad parents in the fact that we never did the thing you're supposed to do with kids, which is like let them cry it out in their room. We tried this one night, and it nearly caused the end of our family. Like it was like the divorce was that close. So. Because I couldn't do it. My wife couldn't. Then we were each trying to be strong at different times. Neither of us could. Then we were fighting what's wrong with us, and then we started talking. Finding other cultures and societies that have their children sleep with them all the time. So we really went to like all sorts of dark places. So my daughter's finally decided that she wanted to. Now she's 13, and we're like, I kept saying eventually they're not going to sleep with us. Like I know they're going to want to sleep in their own rooms because what we do is we fall asleep with them on. We have a big sofa bed in our you've been in our house, the big sofa bed in front of the big TV, and it's like a big sofa it's called a sectional where you can make it into different things. We made it into one giant flat bed basically. And so our kids sleep there with us, and we'll fall asleep watching TV with them sometimes, and then we'll go upstairs, and often they end up in our. When I wake up, I've got like a little hand in my face or whatever. Our kids will end up in our beds throughout the night. So my daughter's decided that she wanted to make her own bedroom finally. So we did some cool things. We painted it, and then in digging, I found my glasses, which I had lost probably 3 years ago. I mean, literally right after moving to maybe 2 years ago, right after moving to this house, I lost these glasses, and I was really mad at myself because I usually wear contacts. I don't like wearing glasses, but once in a while you want to give your eyes a break or whatever. So
why didn't you have that tile thing on it?
I know. Well, now, yeah, that would look wonderful. That would really make me look awful.
I tried contacts once. I went through the whole thing, got a whole box of them. I used them like twice. Like I was playing softball and I used them, and it was a windy day and the dirt got in my eye. I mean, it was a complete nightmare. I mean, and plus I must have dry eye because I had to constantly put the solution.
Yeah, it takes a while. It takes a good 6 months. You have to really commit to it. It's like playing guitar. You gotta just say you're gonna do it.
And then I was in a panic because I couldn't get one of them out of my eye. It was like
that's really frustrating. Yeah, there's nothing you want to do. There's nothing you hate more than that. I know, but
I don't have anything, so I can't relate.
Sorry. You're lucky. My eyes are horrible. I mean, these glasses
my eyes aren't great anymore.
These glasses are.
Oh yeah, look at that! Wow, my eyes aren't great, but they're just good enough that I don't need glasses. So why bother?
Well, I mean, these glasses are like 2 years old, and it's like I can read with them, but like I wear them for everything. And like when I go to a hockey game, like Russ and I were at the Prospects game in Buffalo in September, and I says you're gonna have to read the number there because I can't see who that player's number is.
But that's pretty high up too. Like even I'm straining at that point.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I know when I need to get an eye checkup is when I can't read the numbers at Flyers games, from the press box. That's when I know I should get my eyes checked.
You can always read. It's the names. The name.
I cannot read the numbers. You have good eyes, Russ.
No, I can read the numbers, but the name is always,
I can't read it. I can't read the numbers. I'm at the point now where I know I need a new prescription. And the funny thing is, one of my eyes is really worse than the other.
Yeah.
So when I put, I have 2 different contact lenses I put in. But when I go to hockey games, I put in 2 of the strong ones, like in both eyes, just for that. Because it's weird because
you want supervision.
Yeah, to give me supervision, and it does work. I mean, because there's no question that this eye has probably gone to as bad as this eye was, and this eye is worse than anything I have.
It's like looking through a periscope with one eye when he has the 2.
Right. So
I think there's a conspiracy here for optometry and glasses.
Oh, yes, no question.
This is what I've noticed, okay? If your vision is sort of like mine and it's just good enough that you don't need glasses, my advice is don't ever get them because the minute you get them, your eyes get lazy and then you will never see right again. And
I'm with that because I'll tell you right now, I used to just wear these for reading. Then I started wearing them all the time, and now I take these off at night and it's like a rainstorm looking through a window. It's terrible. It's like everything is blurry, and I'm dependent on them.
So I am fighting glasses for that reason, and not just for me, for all the listeners and viewers out there too.
But I think that's a good public service announcement. I do agree with you. I have
trying to
fallen.
be a hero. This is how I'm going to be.
I'm totally addicted to the heroin that is contact lenses at this point, and I can't get. And I need more and more and more and more and more magnification. It gets worse and worse and worse. There's no question about that. And yeah, I mean, and they said I've said, can I get laser surgery because I would like to just end this horrible thing, you know? And they're like, no, your eyes keep getting worse. You can't get laser surgery until your eyes settle off. So my eyes are steadily declining.
That's their hope, is that they never settle, so you have to keep buying glasses.
Right.
Coming back.
And I can't because I'm a type 2 diabetic, and blood sugar level affects your vision. So like if my blood sugar level is abnormally high for a while, then my vision gets worse. But if it's good, then it gets better. So they'll never do LASIK on me.
Yeah, no, that's true. And I mean, I can't do LASIK, which sucks. I could eventually do it, I guess, and just have to then go back into this chain of less contact lenses, you know, like, and then eventually build it up to where I am now, get LASIK again.
So you could push it back. Yeah, you could.
I could start the process. It would be like Keith Richards getting a blood transfusion type thing. Like I'd be setting myself back to normal for like a couple weeks before my eyes got worse again, and then I have to just keep this process.
Just order lots of carrots, Eck.
But here's the real conspiracy, and then we'll get off this incredibly exciting.
I'm drinking carrot juice too. I don't know if it's helping me, but I'm giving it a go.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll get off this incredibly exciting topic of eyewear in a second, and get right into the hockey news. But the final thing I will say is this: I've been wearing these daily contact lenses, right, where I have to take them out every day, put them in I take them out at night, which I hate because. I mean, I hate waking up not being able to see. Like that's the great, you know. And I have the expression in our house is the dad doesn't have his eyes in. Don't ask him anything. He doesn't have his eyes in yet, right? Because it literally happens all the time. Like one time I had to drive and pick somebody up, and I didn't have my contact lenses. I literally drove, and I still can't believe I'm alive to this day. I drove through a fog in Ocean City without I was like, I'm going to get pulled over because I must be driving. This is worse than drunk, I'm sure. I've never been drunk. But so anyway, I wear these dailies, and they said the woman behind the counter is really sweet. The lens crafters at Montgomery Mall. I know she watches the show, so I'm saying you are awesome. She's very sweet to me. She says, would you like to try this monthly, which is way cheaper. Like, you know, you buy like one contact lens, you clean it at the end of every day, put it in, all that stuff. And what she doesn't know is that I have been, you know, gotten lazy and gotten to the point where I am using my dailies on a weekly basis. Like I am I'm cleaning them every night and putting that back in, and they're fine. How much better can this monthly be? Like, what is the difference? Like, what are they really doing to this contact lens? That this contact lens I can use for a month, and this one I have to throw out every day.
Nothing. It's just like a monthly subscription to anything else.
So,
Heck, you sound like the diabetic who takes his pills once a week instead of once a day.
No, but this is like a little piece of plastic, and I can't imagine that it's engineered that much better. Because it has one function, to let me see. So this is the function it has. I have to see with it. So, and I can see with it. I can see with the monthly, and I can see with the daily one. Now, what is better about the monthly one that makes it last? And what I've found is this. Monthly, when I tried the monthly one, I loved it because it actually did what the dailies do when I use them for a week. They'll fit better because they actually start adjusting. They actually start contouring to your eye. Yeah. So if you wear it a couple of days, when you go in, it's like, wow, I can't believe how quickly I got that in. So
it's probably the material that they're made of, and the fact that whatever solution is in your eye, the saline in your eye will degrade it over time. So that's why one is a daily and one is a monthly. So
that's got to be it. But at the same time, it seems like I know for a fact that I can use dailies for at least 5 days. Like I've done it because I've run out of contact lenses on many occasions where I'm down to my last contact lens, and I'm too lazy.
I've got one of those 5-blade razors that's supposedly only good for a month that I've used.
Oh, that's another one, right? I mean, yeah, right. Don't get me started on razor blades. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't even buy them.
Harry's.com.
We can tell, Russ.
I tried to
tell me you can tell.
I'm trying to get Harry's.com. That's the cheapest way to buy razors. I do it all. It's how it's like I get all my razors sent to me once every 2 months. And it's way cheaper than anything else. So that's I wish they were.
I haven't bought blades in like 100 years. Forget it.
Wow. Well, that's a good way to get tetanus. But yeah, let's move on. Today is the 20th.
Okay.
1 year from today, we will be inaugurating a new president.
Let's not even think about that.
Did you see the thing I sent out on hockey on Twitter today? I sent out this. That there was the. Have you ever seen the YouTubers interview the president series? Really good. Like really, like it really. The one from check out my Twitter feed. It's in there. The last one. One of my favorite people, Destin. I forget his last name. He does this incredible podcast called Smarter Every Day, which I watch with the kids all the time. It's a really good science podcast. He interviewed the president. When you watch these interviews with the president, you really do realize that this is a pretty damn cool president. Like as far as presidents go, like you might not agree with him, but he's pretty with it. Like he's pretty cool.
Very smooth, yes.
I mean, compared to other presidents, this is definitely the most hangable president we've ever had. Like this is a guy.
I was in the White House. I watched him kick around a soccer ball with great ease. Where like you watch
this guy just has it. Obama has it. Whatever that it is.
Ford fell down the plane stairs. He couldn't have done that.
And I know we're fighting off Mike now, so he can't say anything because
I couldn't give a crap less about smooth and cool. I care about competence.
We're talking about being a human. That's all we're talking about.
I'm just talking about like all right,
not a candidacy, not a ideologic.
Right. Like none of us want to hang out with Dan Petro, but he's really good. He's really good on the podcast. He's really smooth. I'm just kidding. Dan's a great guy.
Mike, it's okay to be human.
There's the title for the show. Mike, it's okay to be human. Here we go. Let's do January 20th, Wednesday. Hello, Hockey World. Oh, man. Mike, don't make me laugh. Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday, January 20th, 2016.
I'm Michael Lagello.
I'm Russ Cohen. If you like Sarah Palin, she's in my new book. Philadelphia Flyers, Images of Sports. It's out now. Thank you.
Can I tell my story? And I'm Eklund, and you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that brings you the hockey news every Monday through Friday. But I have to really quick tell my Sarah Palin story because she was there.
On.
I know you've heard it. You've all heard it, but it's too funny. But she came to drop the puck, and there's still to this day the Palin-mobile, which lives down. Have you seen the Palin-mobile? It lives in the bowels of the Wells Fargo Center. It's like the Pope-mobile. They made this special thing to drive her because they landed Sarah Palin. This is a really good idea by Ed Snyder. But I'm just to what is probably the most democratic city on the planet. Philadelphia will always never. There's never been a Republican that's gotten like 5% of the Philadelphia vote. True. But this is the city that really just this is so very shortly, like a week after Palin had been announced, she comes and drops the puck at a Flyers preseason game against the Rangers. I think it was, right?
Yeah, I think it was.
I think it was the Rangers.
I think so.
So the Flyers decide that if someone's going to talk to her, and so, of all the reporters, that I was the least objectionable, that I was the most likely to not say anything stupid. That they knew, even though I was a Democrat, they knew I wouldn't go after her or anything like that. I was like, okay, it's fine. So I get to hang out with her for a little bit, and I did get to show her around, which is kind of interesting. But the weird thing of the story was this: that she's a hockey mom. I talked about that. I just left it non-political, of course. But then she hugged me goodbye. I got hugged by Sarah Palin, at which time she said, "You smell really good." So I was told, but Sarah Palin thinks I smell good. Just throw it out there.
Well, she probably doesn't say that to the chump.
Yeah, right. You're right. So anyway, but oh man, can you imagine? Trump Palin, are we living in a cartoon land or what?
Let's not go there because.
All right, let's get into hockey. Let's get into hockey, and I want to start with the Flyers and Maple Leafs last night because it was an interesting game. And Mike, you have a good story on it today about. Mike, we're going to see your article, Mike, to see like how you're going to talk about how the Leafs have battled through this. This team's looking great, and your title of your article is today: Leaf potential tradable players show well in the Flyers game.
Yeah,
which is true. No, I'm not saying that's, but it's that's where we are, right? So.
Right, I focused on 4 of their pending free agents.
It's a good story.
And how. If you look at that game last night, they all stood out, and I think that in a way, Lou Lamoriello and Brendan Shanahan are sort of going like, pumping their fist that these players are playing better. Reimer's got the second best save percentage in the NHL behind Michael Neuwirth.
Reimer was the story last night. I mean, Reimer was the reason that game was even close. The Flyers dominated that game early, and then as the game went on, Toronto picked it up. But early on, that game was all Philly.
The Flyers dominated the first 10 minutes and then woke up with about 10 minutes left to go in the third period. The middle of the game was dominated by Toronto.
Yeah, I'd say it's right.
I mean, Reimer made 31 saves, and he's now over 500 for a team that's 29th in the league.
The save Reimer made on the rebound from Wayne Simmons, that was phenomenal. I was really underplayed. I was watching the TSN feed. It was underplayed on that TSN feed. But it was, that save was phenomenal. I mean, it was and just shows how good Wayne Simmons is. I mean, Wayne Simmons got that rebound off. He was being just completely being hacked, and he was flying through the air, and he still got a great rebound off. And Reimer made 2 really good saves on that.
He's probably the best raw athlete in the NHL, and doesn't get credit for it, but he is. Like, when he's trying to do a deflection, nobody jumps higher. I saw a picture the other day of Drew King took a picture, and literally Wayne Simmons was like a foot off the ground on skates.
When your butt takes out a 6'2" goalie,
yes,
the other night like it did with Mrazek. I mean, that's something. I mean, that he jumped up that high.
Well, Reimer got pretty pissed off because that was the third time he got run into. I think it was Belmar who.
Yeah, Reimer went after Belmar, threw some punches.
Yeah, exactly. He started hitting him with his waffle, and he honestly he deserved it. But Reimer
can't be taken seriously when you're hitting somebody with your waffle, though.
That's when you laugh at goalies, you do.
Yeah,
that's when you drop your waffle.
But the injury today to Cam Ward in Carolina, I mean, that to me makes it even more likely that Reimer's could get moved because
Reimer's primed to get dealt.
Yeah, I mean, his stats are fantastic. He's probably going to be asking for over $4 million. There's no way the Leafs are going to pay him on a long-term deal that much money. So I think he's gone. Roman Polak had one of his better games of the year. He's a right-hand shot. He's a tough bottom-pairing guy, a penalty killer. He had a real good game. P.A. Parento had
but he only scored his first goal of the year. It's not
I'm not saying he's an offensive juggernaut.
He did a lot of other things.
I want to point that out.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, he's not. But when I watched him last night, I could totally see why San Jose is interested in him. He makes total sense on the Sharks.
Yeah. P.A. Parento has 11 goals. It got robbed by Medvedev on a great play.
Wouldn't touch Parento with the 11-foot pole, but continue.
But the thing is, Zach, I mean,
I know.
There are teams out there that are really hurting in terms of offense, and you're talking about a rental. You're talking about
he's your classic third-round draft pick, Parento.
Yeah, and coincidentally, a guy. I mean, and I've been a critic of Sean Matthias all year because he really hasn't done much.
Yeah.
Since Van Riemsdyk got hurt and they put him into more of a scoring role, he's got a couple points, and he played a really tough game last night. Led the team in shots on goal. I mean, I don't think they're going to get a ton from him, but this is what's in play for Toronto. I don't think it's a doubt that they're going to move most of the 7 UFAs that they have. It's the question is whether they're going to move guys who have term left in their deal. That'll be more difficult, but I think the interest in players like Bozak and players like maybe Jake Gardner is out there. Phaneuf is a possibility, although, Darren Drager reported this morning that, he doesn't think that Phaneuf would waive his no trade to move, but he's got one of those limited no move clauses that he can be traded to 12 teams. So if there's a match out there, and a team needs a defenseman, and I speculated about the Dallas Stars earlier in the week in one of my columns. I think Phaneuf would go, and I think
why
Phaneuf could go
closer to out west where his wife is. Why wouldn't?
Yeah, can I tell you something that's really funny? Over the past week or so, my wife and I really we watch movies a lot and watch television shows or whatever, and this is really connected. Trust me. And for some reason, we always joke around like there's always a theme. Like we'll end up watching 4 movies in a row with the same actors in it. We're like, oh, this is the theme for that. We have seen more of Elijah Cuthbert recently than I can imagine. Dion Phaneuf's wife has just been everywhere. I mean, The Girl Next Door. We watched that movie. That's of course the classic movie that everybody thinks about with her. But then she's in a really funny series called Happy Endings. I don't know if you've ever seen that. It's a Hulu series. She's really good in that.
I haven't seen that.
Really, it's like the show New Girl, which I can't stand, but it's a better version of that show. With some of the, I mean, I swear they use the same set as New Girl. I swear it's the same place. And then she's in another thing. Then all of a sudden we're watching. Hulu recommends we watch this other show, which is with her in as well. So Elijah Cuthbert has been lately, and she's.
Hulu is your life coach.
Yeah. We allow Hulu to make decisions for us. Where should our kids go to college, Hulu?
I think they should go to Columbia.
I know. I don't know. Mr. Fantastic, which is what Siri calls me, by the way.
Right. Well, of course, yeah.
I told Siri to call me Mr. Fantastic. All right, so so I think FNUF could waive his no trade clause to go west. I think Anaheim makes a lot of sense. I think Dallas makes some sense where they've talked about. I know history tells us that he hasn't been very happy about waiving his no trade clause in the past, but he's got to see the writing on the wall here, and he's got to realize that he's not going to be a part of the solution of this situation. This team he's not going to be there when this team is good. And what is there? Why stay in Toronto? Like you said, if your wife's, if you're married to friggin' Alicia Cuthbert, Alicia, right? Alicia,
yeah.
Alicia Cuthbert. Why would you not? Why would you be in Toronto? So yeah, if you have a chance to go someplace else. So I think I think that could happen.
The thing is, he is prominent in the Leafs organization as the team captain. If he goes someplace,
oh yeah, no, yeah, and he's been a good soldier recently.
He's just another. And the thing is that Babcock and him have gotten along. And I know that Lamoriello has been talking up, which again, in the same connection with a guy like Kadri, I'm going to stay. I want to be in a foxhole with him. It just doesn't add up to talk about somebody like who's a restricted free agent to talk him up so much. So it's almost like an agenda is being sold. There's no guarantee that FNUF is going to be traded, but it adds up if he has got a chance to go to a contending team like a Dallas, who I think is a good defenseman away from being a serious contender in the West. And you see it yesterday. They lose to LA. Their defense is average at best, and they've got two defensemen leaving as UFAs in Demers and Goligoski. I don't know whether Jim Nill wants to sign either one of them, but
I don't think he will. I mean, Julius Honka will come up. Like, they've got some guys.
Yeah, but rushing Honka this year in a playoff run makes no sense.
No, I'm not saying they're going to rush him this year. They'll get a rental this year, but they're not going to re-sign those guys.
Yeah, I mean, if they, as I speculated in my column earlier in the week, if Nill had an opportunity to move a guy like Hemsky out, who's making $4 million and has 4 goals this year, as part of a deal for a defenseman, that's something I think Dallas would like to do. And I think it's a very distinct possibility because we've heard connections between Dallas and FNUF for a while. So yeah. I think they add up, and he would be probably a top pairing or second pairing guy on the Stars. More than likely would take the Leafs taking a haircut of probably $1 million or $1.5 million on that deal, but they can do it because they have Nathan Horton's contract to counterbalance it.
Right, that's true.
I do have an update, if you guys want an update. Yeah. So I was at the Jersey game yesterday, and they did a good job with social media night. I was up there in the suite. We had great food, but they upgraded the dip. It's a balsamic onion dip, and it's fantastic. And the chips are homemade chips. Like, the Devils are completely made over.
I like that they're sticking with the tried and true chip and dip thing, though. I like the fact that they're not leaving their roots.
Like the selection of food.
Like, I thought for sure that was a Lou Lamoriello thing, so that they're still staying with that.
But they've upgraded it, and along with some other great food. But here's the thing that I took about the teams.
Yeah.
So Calgary, knowing that they're a bad road club, I wanted to see what kind of effort they gave, and they're a one-line team. Everybody else was horrible for them. And so they are bad on the road. Jonas Hiller if he's not completely finished, he is on the downside. The Devils got 2 goals in a matter of 17 seconds that were pretty bad. The first one was even pretty bad. It hit right off his chest, kind of rolled right up. It's like his reflexes just don't seem to be there like they were a couple of years ago. Maybe that's because of the post-concussion. So that's something I noticed. As far as the Devils goes, and I was trying to look this up, I was shocked to see that even Tomo Ruutu gets ice time anymore, and apparently he goes in and out of the lineup. I'm trying to see how many points he has. I think it's under 10.
Yeah, well, and they were slumping the last few weeks without Camilleri, but didn't they get Camilleri back?
It's more than under 10. He doesn't have a point.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize that either. So here's the thing. They definitely, if they want to be a team that's going to stay where they are, and they really do play very tough hockey, always around the net, but they're not getting a lot of shots on net, not enough shots on net, and they're not good at faceoffs. If they got one good faceoff shark who also could be like a good second or third line guy, they might be able to make the playoffs. That's really something they're desperately in need of.
Yeah.
because everything else is sort of there for them now. Even with some guys going in and out of the lineup, but when you got to put in Tomo Rutu with 0 points, like it's just you know a deal is going to be made.
Well, for one thing, I mean they're a budget team, and we know that they're locked in on that budget. They can go out and get rentals, but the problem is that organization at the end of the Lamoriello era. I mean, there's a few prospects, but they're not going to under Shiro. They're not going to want to trade prospects. They're not going to want to trade draft picks.
I don't know about that. Shiro has done that in the past, and they're very deep defensively with prospects. They are. Pavel Zacha is unmovable, right? Because he might even be in the NHL in another year or two. But they have a kid like Josh Jacobs in the minors who's fantastic. They have Steven Santini who's fantastic. Merrill, even though he's getting hurt, has been in and out, but he's starting to pick it up. And Larson, obviously, is not a bust like people were trying to say last year.
Right.
So there's a lot of defensive depth there.
Well, not to connect everything to Toronto, but with Lamoriello there, knowing that Devils organization as well as he does, and him having a lot of rentals and players, the way you were describing a second, third line center who was good on faceoffs, can you say Tyler Bozak?
I mean, he would cure a lot of ills. He would cure a lot of ills for the Devils, and I'll tell you, the crowd for a Tuesday night for a division team, better. The on-ice presentation, their on-ice presentation is better than the Flyers now.
Oh no, they're just amazing. I mean, I've heard, I haven't seen it raised recently, but I heard like the 3-dimensional thing they have going on and all this stuff.
But you know what else they do, which is fairly new? They've got a split screen on the big screen.
Okay.
And they're showing 2 different angles or 2 different things
wow.
going on, and that's something we don't generally see either. So they've really pushing the envelope there. So I think if they really want to get some revenue flowing, a guy like Bozak makes sense.
Here you go. Here's the perfect quote for what's going to be going on in the next 5 weeks in Toronto from our friend Chris Johnston from Sportsnet. From Mike Babcock, it's up to you guys, meaning the media, to create the rumors. It's up to me to not. This is the thing. Mike Babcock, at least what he's promoting in his press conferences in the press, he likes some of these players. He doesn't want them moved, but they're going to be moved. They have to be moved because otherwise most of these guys who they signed, they're not going to re-sign, or they're going to go someplace if they're having a good year and get a bigger contract. So Lou Lamoriello, Brendan Shanahan, they're going to move these players. They're going to move some. I don't think they're going to move the whole team, but I think you're going to see 6, 7, 8 players traded before the deadline with the Leafs.
Yeah.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, but it's interesting to hear about New Jersey. I mean, and Calgary, because there's a lot of people who are high on Calgary still making the playoffs. I'm not there. I'm not.
They can't win on the road. You can't win.
Yeah, that. But the thing is, I mean, the only reason that they're still in the playoffs is because of the Pacific Division is bad. But the thing is, if you look at the standings, there's like a 4 or 5 point difference now between Arizona, Vancouver, San Jose, and them in Edmonton. So there's starting to be a gap, and it's the goaltending for one. I mean,
They don't trust their goaltending. They don't. I'll tell you why. 3 goals. Hiller looks bad. They leave him in.
Right.
Yeah, I know that is the weird thing. I don't like the way they. I don't like the way they play.
Why, Russ? Why, Russ? Because they've been really overplaying Ramo. They've had to play him because he's been the better of the two.
Right, but Ortillo just got called up, didn't he? He's fresh.
Yeah, they could have gone with him. I mean, I think they still would like to hold out hope that they could move Hiller. But he's one of those guys, so they want to give him some chance to play, but.
I mean, his save percentage is under 900. He's been terrible. The only way they move him is in a deal where they're taking a goaltender back, and the other team is willing to take the salary the other way.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
now a team that is looking for a goaltender, I was told, is the Montreal Canadiens. And I know this is kind of crazy because they just traded for one, and and it's not really to blame the Canadiens' woes on their goaltending because it really hasn't been their goaltending. But I mean, their goaltending hasn't been great, but it hasn't been horrible either.
Well,
but yeah, I've heard that they are definitely looking around. I wouldn't, that's a place that I could see Reimer going to be honest.
Possible, but if they're looking for goaltending, that screams something major is wrong with Carey Price. I mean, that the fact that they don't want to rush him back.
Well,
if they're looking for.
what's going on right now? He's skating. I was talking to somebody yesterday. He's skating, but he's still skating. He's only skating, in not street clothes. I love when they say he's skating in street clothes. He's skating in warm-up suits. He's not.
Right.
He's not out there in his hip street clothes.
Right.
But he's skating with a therapist still. He's like a physical therapist out there. So he's not skating with the coaching with the goalie
He had a
coach.
sprained MCL. So again, it's a tricky thing, right? I mean,
and you got to be so careful because so much of this team's future is relying on him. So I mean, they're out of the playoffs as of today. But
do we know if he? He did have surgery, correct? Or he did not?
No, he did not. He did not have surgery.
So he went the rehabilitation,
the old-fashioned way.
Yeah, because it was sprained. But here's the other thing. I was reading a ton of quotes, basically from players trying to save Terrian's job, and from Terrian trying to save Terrian's job. So for that rumor is real. Because
I agree.
When Terrian was sort of talking after that game, it was a little different than he normally would, and
well, let's face it, Montreal. I mean, this is this is way longer.
It is on.
Yeah, this is way longer than any other Montreal coach would have survived this. I think that he's going. Go ahead.
This is purely the heat of the psychotic Montreal fan base, and I'm not saying psychotic in terms of they're all lunatics.
The players feel it. The players actually had to talk.
They have won 4 games in a month and a half.
Right.
I mean, this is and they're not. It's not just they're not losing games in weird ways. They're just losing games.
I think Terrian knows it too, based on.
Yeah.
If you look at some of those quotes from his post game yesterday. It's almost like he knows if it doesn't turn around, he's almost expecting it.
But look, Plekanec is not playing well. Pacioretty's not playing well. Desharnais is not playing well. Subban's not playing well. None of the big players.
The lines this guy puts together are horrible. I'm sorry to say it, but he tries. There's different ways. When guys get hurt, there's different ways of handling that, right? And I've always been a fan of the coach that if a guy gets hurt, he replaces him with somebody else, but doesn't screw up every line he's got.
Right.
Which is, I'm like, so call up somebody, make him the new winger on the second line, but don't mess with your first and third line because you just don't. If those lines are working, every time someone goes in or out of the lineup, Terrian shuffles everything.
But the problem is, Zach, that none of their lines are working.
But they're not. They were working. In the beginning of the year, you had 3 lines that were working really well. So it's not impossible that they could work again. But those 3 lines have not been together again. They have not been together since because once Gallagher went out, once other players went out, it's unfair. People are getting on me about this Canadiens fans, but I'm telling you, as a Canadiens fan, I'm done with this. I've been done with this guy for a long time, and I've always and I know that I'm like.
I think Bergevin owes Terrian a trade before they fire the coach.
That might happen.
I will grant all your points, Zach, but I think that honestly, this team, and I've said this for a couple years, this team in front of Carey Price was just good enough to win, but without him, they were a 500 team, and they're not even playing 500 right now. It clearly means they're not good enough to win with an average goaltender, and you can't have success if you're putting so much pressure on Carey Price to carry the ball.
I don't buy it. They're not good enough to win with this coach. That's my opinion. They are good enough. I believe in what Marc Bergevin's done. I really do. I honestly think that if he makes a trade, the problem with this is there's never been a connect between what Bergevin's done and what Terrian wants. Terrian doesn't seem to want the players that Bergevin goes out and gets. And because Bergevin does believe in skill, he goes out for skilled players. Terrian wants, guys who will buy in 100%. He wants those, he wants the Gallaghers. Gallagher is his player. That's the perfect player. That's the epitome of a Michel Terrien player, and that's great. We all love Brendan Gallagher's a great player, but you need more than just the Brendan Gallaghers to make your team work.
Yeah, but the only 2 skilled guys that Bergevin has brought in his tenure have been Vanek, and that was considered a failure, even though he played well down the stretch. And Semin, and that was a dramatic failure. Most of the rest of the guys that he's brought in have been, Jeff Petrie was a good right-hand shot defenseman, and he's brought in the Torrey Mitchells and the
Briere.
Paul Byrons.
How about Briere? Smith-Pelly. Yeah. Briere and Smith-Pelly are 2 skilled guys too.
Smith-Pelly is not a skilled guy.
I see him. I think he is a skilled guy actually.
I think
he's kind of in the middle. He's kind of in. But look what he's gotten out of Dale Weiss. Look what he's gotten out of Paul Byron.
Because those are Brendan Gallagher type players. Those are those players. That's the kind of player he coaches well. And in Pittsburgh, this is what happened, right? We don't have to go too far back to remember.
No, it's true.
This is what happened in Pittsburgh. That when you have a team that's built on these incredibly highly skilled players, and you're trying to play this other kind of system, that system just doesn't. You can't counterattack all the time. Like Montreal wants to counterattack too often, and they're always trying to counter, and it makes you crazy because they have enough skill to not counter. Pacioretty is a highly skilled player. Plekanec is a highly skilled player. These are really skilled players. I even there's other guys on the team too that I think he's just misused.
But
I'm a big Weiss fan, but he was having a good season and everything like that.
The thing is that those players have thrived under Therrien in the past. What is the difference now? The difference is
really didn't
they
thrive.
Don't have Price.
They really never thrived. I'm telling you, they never really. Montreal went far. But like we said before, it wasn't Pacioretty that was getting them there. It wasn't Plekanec that was getting them there. It was Price, and it was a combination of these other players who were scoring. And they were getting scored.
It was because when
Right.
Kreider took Price out and it was Tokarski, they couldn't beat the Rangers in the playoffs, right? And
looking at what's happening with Galchenyuk. Like Galchenyuk is a total disaster, right? And
he's a great skill player.
He's a great skilled player, and and he's also a guy that the GM brought in. You can say one way or the other. This is a guy they brought in.
He's a great skill player who's 21 years old who still hasn't proved that he can play two-way hockey up the middle. You can't
until this year they weren't even playing him at center.
He didn't even get to play the middle. Exactly.
Right. He hasn't played center, and that screws up a guy. That really screws up a guy. I want to move on to another thing. I can go about this all day. I like this. The McGrattan fight last night in the AHL. San Antonio Rampage. I'm going to show you guys. Be careful if you don't want to watch this. You don't have to, but it's worth watching for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the fight. This is against
San Diego and San Antonio.
Right. I'm trying to remember the play. So he gets knocked out, goes face first, bit flat down. Really scary moment here.
The player's a former Ranger draft pick. I forget his name though.
Yeah, I have it right here. I can tell you, but he goes right down. So. This course is going to bring up the the old, So I'll tell you, Daniel Maggio.
Yeah. The anti-fighting
right.
segment of the hockey world are having a parade right now. When McGrattan, basically he came on social media this morning, says he's fine. He was interviewed on Toronto radio this morning. He's fine. Okay.
He doesn't know he's fine, though.
He's not fine.
That's what we have to get past. All right, here's the thing. I am not against fighting. I will say that. But when a guy's had a long career of it, like McGrattan, the worst thing he could do after that situation is to say he's fine. He should go straight to a neurologist, and he should go through a battery of tests before he even quotes anything to the press.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
You get all that stuff, but you're right. I agree with you what you're saying, Russ, because it really does put out like this. He put out this thing. I'm not dead. I'm okay.
Right.
And I'm glad he does that and everything. I'm glad he's not dead. But he definitely has obviously he's got a concussion, no questions about it. There's no way he doesn't have a concussion. You can't get a shot like that to your face and then fall face first onto the ice and not have a concussion. And he could have other damage too, which we don't know about. And I know that we've had this argument before, Mike, and everything like that. And I know that Adam Proto writes for HockeyBuzz is big anti-fighting.
Mm-hmm.
And I love me a good hockey fight like anyone else. I grew up in Philadelphia, for crying out loud. But it's done. Fighting is done, and it's had its day. It's no longer an important part of the game. And someone is going to get killed. And why are we sitting here waiting? Why are we I just get so frustrated that we're sitting here, and it's going to stop. Like I've said many times, fighting is going to be outlawed. It's going to happen.
No, I don't think it'll ever be outlawed.
It will.
I don't think it'll be outlawed either. But when you see a guy fall down like that, and it's not on a ring, and it's not the WWE, then that guy has to have the sense to say, okay, there's maybe something wrong now with me that I don't even know about, and to come out and say he's okay is just ridiculous.
Well, that's what he said. But
but it fosters that culture, like this toughness that you don't need to gut yourself through a concussion because
I do agree with that. But I really do believe that someone is going to get killed. There
Well,
are too many, and it's going to happen. It's just
what's going to happen first? And I've had this argument with people before. What is going to happen first? Somebody getting killed on the ice in an NHL game in a fight, or somebody being killed in an NHL game being run from behind in the boards? I think the likelihood, with the way the game is being played right now, that somebody will get killed being run into the boards before it happens in a fight, because fighting is being phased out naturally. You see NHL teams. John Scott was a 13 forward. You know, you're seeing players who are more sort of like middleweight guys who, when it comes up, there's a fight. I mean, the Erica Branson Matt Hendricks fight that happened a couple nights ago between Florida and Edmonton. I mean, that was in retribution to Hendricks running Aaron Ekblad into the boards. That is an essential part of this game, because you cannot stop players from taking runs at people unless they have to pay the price in some way. And I think that will always be part of this game. And if it isn't, I think you're going to see things like high stick swinging incidents and players being run into the boards. That would be even more dangerous.
Here's the thing, okay? You don't have to be a genius. Go search Brian McGrattan and upper body injury and see how many entries you could find. It's not hard.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no question.
Because we call it an upper body injury, it's easy for fans and everybody else to sort of not think about that the guy got concussed on a play.
Right, Russ, he's gone the way of George Peros and Colton Orr of playing 10, 12, 13 years in the NHL, and the preponderance of abuse that they take from fighting, 15, 20 times a year. After a while, the body simply can't take it. So, I mean, yes, with McGrattan, his career may be over. I was actually surprised he even got signed to an AHL contract this year. But that doesn't mean that players in the NHL, that fighting has to be eliminated, because I think fighting is still an essential part of this game.
Well, it helps police the game because it is a frustrating game. But that fight, was that a part of that? It didn't seem like that.
No.
I didn't watch the game, but that seemed like another one of those, hey, I'll fight you, you fight me fights.
Well, this is the guy who's fighting McGrattan, trying to make a name for himself and all likelihood. Right.
I'm against those fights. And I have been for a while.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you, and I honestly just I don't want to see fighting. I just don't want to see some. I mean, it's different than getting run from behind, Mike. These are two people literally trying to hurt each other. Like a fight is a fight. It's different than something that happens in the game. I agree, those plays are dirty, but it's different when you have two people physically. If they did what they're doing there in a bar, they would be both put into jail. Like
right.
This is.
Well, think about this too. Like we always talk about, hey, the guys from the old days didn't get hurt. Dave Schultz is small compared to McGrattan and a lot of these other guys. What would happen if Dave Schultz were taking on guys this size all the time?
Yeah, and the guys back then, they couldn't skate as well. They had no leverage when they fought. You saw the whole thing was very different. People are now trained in bare-fisted fighting, which isn't even legal in boxing. You know what I mean?
Russ, to that point, look what happened to Jordan Tutu when he had to fight Ryan Reeves after Farnham took that run on Yaskin last week. I mean, Tutu is what, 5'10", 190, 200 pounds, and Ryan Reeves is next to John Scott, one of the biggest guys in the league, and he got pulverized. You can't fight that guy. He had to because he was standing up for a teammate.
Right.
In that instance, I mean, okay, there are not many staged fights in the league anymore. It's not happening. The only thing that's happening are things like the Buffalo, Arizona thing that happened at the end of the game, or Philadelphia, Toronto, where there was almost a line brawl last night. You're never going to get rid of that in the sport. And if they do,
agree. But why are we seeing it?
That I want to cover.
Why does the AHL get a pass?
I'm not saying they should get a pass.
I know.
Yeah, maybe it should be banned from the AHL.
Yeah.
Well,
here's the thing. No. Think about this, Mike. It makes sense because if you ban it from the AHL, then the guys from the NHL, when their NHL career is truly over, won't be able to go back down to the AHL just to fight. I don't want to take money out of people's pockets. I don't.
Well, they've already banned it.
They're doing anybody any favors down the line.
They already banned it in the Ontario Hockey League, and when a lot of these players come up to the AHL, they're not prepared to fight like they used to when they played, like when the OHL allowed fighting. So, I mean, honestly, I think there is something to learning the art of how to fight and how to protect yourself, not to go down the Youngblood, Dean Youngblood role.
Okay, but and this isn't the Little Rascals. It's not, it's not like that fight either. But I'm just saying, a guy like McGrattan can't play in the NHL anymore. Why is he allowed to play in the AHL?
Because he wants to earn a living. He wants to still play. Or he still has a role. I mean, the Toronto Marlies signed Justin Johnson this year. Justin Johnson is a noted fighter from the ECHL and the AHL. Why did they sign him? Because they've got a lot of skill players, and they are afraid that some big team like Utica or Syracuse or somebody like that or Binghamton will abuse their young skilled players. That is a deterrent that is needed still in the American Hockey League. And there's, I think,
you take all those guys out, then you don't need it.
Well,
you don't have to have it.
There are teams with size, and you somehow need to counteract those teams that are bigger, that are tougher, that play a more physical game.
If McGrattan wants to still fight, let him go to that Quebec Fighting League, and that's fine. But in this format, in the NHL and AHL, he shouldn't be in there. And
I still think there's a role for fighting in the NHL and in professional hockey. I will always think that. I'm in the minority. I realize that.
Who's the enforcer on the Blackhawks?
I'm sorry?
Who's the enforcer on the Blackhawks?
They have ridiculous skill, Russ.
Okay, who's the enforcer on the Kings?
A guy named Milan Lucic, probably.
He's not an enforcer.
Well,
there's so many teams that don't even have him already.
Yeah.
Right. And I just said that.
No, and Mike's saying it's getting weaned out of the game on its own, and I do agree with that. It is happening, but my problem is this: it's like right now it is like you're driving your car around. You know you're going to get a new car. You're going to get a new car in a couple years, but your brakes are dead. But who cares? I'm going to drive around with my brakes dead because I'm getting a new car, and I think we're at that point with fighting in the NHL. Like fighting is going to go away. And we could just risk it and just try to wait until it naturally goes away, or we could actually have someone get killed. And that's my issue. I really just there's too much to risk. And if someone gets killed, it's going to destroy a lot of progress this game's made in the United States with kids, with all different sorts of things. It'll just become a really bad deal. It'll become really bad. I think bad for the league, bad for everyone. I mean, and just it'll become harder to justify it. And I mean, it's nice that we don't justify hockey anymore as people talk to you about hockey and they say, oh, that's the sport where they fight. That's not something that we talk about anymore, which is really nice because there were years when I was a hockey fan when that's what people would think of. The first thing I said I liked hockey, like, oh, you must like fights, and I'm like, no, I don't like fighting. I like hockey. I don't dislike fighting. But yeah, let's move on. Okay, so there's a rumor that John Scott, I was trying to avoid talking about him at all today, but we're going to bring it up real quickly. Could wear a St. John's jersey in the All-Star game. Yep.
Oh God.
I mean, think about it. Is he going to wear a
No, he's going to wear the All-Star jersey.
All-Star Western jersey. What is the problem?
Yeah, but in the skills competition, what do you wear? You wear remember in the skills competition, you wear your teams wear their team jerseys.
Oh, he shouldn't be in the skills competition. He has no skills.
He's going to be there. So what's he going to wear?
What is he going to do? Wait, what is he going to do in the skills competition?
He's going to knock over the pylons instead of skating through them.
No, I know. There's nothing he's going to do, but he's going to be there.
So just give him a jersey with no number on it, no name, and let him hang out on the ice.
Just give him a white practice jersey.
Yeah, no, I know.
Why is he wearing a St. John's jersey? Come on.
That's what we're here. That's what I'm hearing.
He hasn't played a game in a St. John's jersey, so why should he wear it?
He's praising St. John's. He's like, what a great place to live. It's a wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah, sure he is. And as soon as this All-Star game is over with, he's gonna put in his retirement papers. You watch.
Wait a minute. If Jonathan West is listening, who's going to the All-Star game instead of me, I might have to switch spots with him now because I may need to interview John Scott and ask him why is Newfoundland better than Arizona.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh man.
Come on, John, stop putting us on anymore.
I like the beautiful vistas in Newfoundland compared to Arizona.
He's killing me now. John Scott is killing
You're killing me, Whitey. You're killing me.
All right, quickly, couple quick stupid things here. Rogers in Canada is going to broadcast NHL hockey in 4K. 4K UHD, which is the next level of if you thought your HD TV wasn't good enough type thing. But your HD
4K is tremendous, but nobody's broadcasting other than Netflix.
Right, and yeah, 4K is. I have a 4K monitor which is cheap now. You can get a 4K monitor for less than $200. I have one for my computer, and and there's YouTube. There's 4K videos on YouTube. There's 4K videos like you said, like House of Cards. A couple things are on 4K on Netflix, but not a lot of TV. Not a lot of there's a lot of money involved to go to 4K.
Oh yeah.
For Hollywood.
Does my Sony Trinitron get 4K?
Probably not.
Sony Trinitron, stop it.
Probably not. You have to get up and turn the dials like on your screen.
Yeah, I have to adjust the rabbit ears.
Right, and it goes like you have to turn that thing in the back that goes flip, 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 flip. Yeah. So you people are young are like, what the hell are they talking about? So this coming Saturday, Sportsnet Hockey Night in Canada will broadcast the Maple Leafs versus Canadiens game in 4K HD, the first ever hockey game available in this format. Now, the ACC is now fully equipped for 4K HD, so TSN will also start broadcasting Toronto Raptors games in that format as well. The NHL says we're not going to go to 4K yet. Basically, they're saying it's not worth it yet. Not enough people have 4K TVs.
Well, I agree with them.
You need really good streaming to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, I don't know what that would do to streaming. That's a good point.
Yeah, you definitely. Although, I mean, a lot of people have good enough streaming now. Like, we have, our streaming is very good.
What about on your phone? See, that's the problem.
Yeah, but 4K on your phone is kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's like because they already iPhones and things like that are way over 4K as far as the resolution goes.
Resolution, but now if you're bogging that down with big video, what happens? That's what I'm saying.
Especially if you're on a plan that in terms of how much bandwidth and how much.
Well, that's the big thing in Canada, especially.
Canada restricts bandwidth.
My Canadian friends tell me, they really get screwed with bandwidth restrictions.
They're like the bandwidth miser.
Yeah, in the U.S. we don't. Fortunately, most of our bandwidth is relatively unlimited as far as your home goes.
Right.
You can be when you reach a certain level, at least in my experience, you can be slowed down.
Operate, yes.
But that's really they threaten to do that, but they often don't do that because it really doesn't make sense because this is all a myth. This whole thing is a myth. This is like it's like long distance telephone was years ago. It doesn't cost any more money for them to throw fast bandwidth at you than it does for them to throw slow bandwidth at you. It's just something that they can charge you for. It's the same thing. So eventually, this is going to go away, and eventually we will all have 4K TVs. And what was kind of interesting about this article.
A couple more years though for the 4K TV.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and it is amazing looking. If you ever, I've even seen 8K TVs. It's just, the level is incredible. You literally
feel like. I was in a show a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was trying to show like somebody the video I took, but of course that's not in 4K. I mean, it stops you in your tracks. I mean,
it does. And a lot of phones now, like iPhone shoots in 4K. My iPhone shoots. There's a lot. So it's like HDTV was, but the big difference here is HDTV was enormously important to hockey.
Yes.
Like the introduction of HDTV was incredibly important because that you couldn't really legitimately see the puck before HDTV a lot of times.
Yeah, if HD was around before Fox was around, they would never have invented that stupid puck.
Which, by the way, is 20 years old today.
Wow.
The glow puck, 20 years ago.
You can buy them on eBay for like $100.
You can?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I've never seen that.
Oh, of course. I'll find you one right now.
Yeah, that's another thing that makes me old today, because 25, it's not hockey, but 25 years ago today was the Buffalo Bills beating the LA Raiders 51-3 to go to the Super Bowl.
Yep.
And that makes me feel old.
Yeah, I heard our buddy Pete Weber talking about that, whose birthday was yesterday. He was talking about how that was a memorable thing because Pete Weber at that point was in Buffalo as an announcer.
Let me just say something quickly because a lot of hockey reporters for various outlets, Post Media in Canada, and I think it was Sun Media as well, they laid off a bunch of hockey reporters and basketball reporters yesterday, and one of them being David Alter, a buddy of mine who works for the National Post. I just wanted to say, I'm very sad that happened because some of them had long careers, and I hope they are able to find careers someplace else because a lot of them are really good writers, and we'll miss their contribution to reporting in the various outlets.
Yeah, that's for sure, and it's a sign of the times, unfortunately. We've seen it more and more. It's there are some really incredibly talented out of work hockey writers right now. I mean, beyond just him, there's a lot of them. I mean, there's a lot of them, and and I wish if we made more money on Hockey Buzz, we would hire them in a second. I mean, there really are tons of people out there who who are very very good. Um, but that's the era we live in. Yeah, but no, it's good to mention that. Ryan Parent has been signed to a tryout, to a PTO with the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins.
I hope he's
we were just talking about him the other day. That's why I brought it up, because we actually mentioned him because he was part of the whole Forsberg trade.
Yeah.
From Philly to Nashville. So yeah, and he at one time was a big. And there's the other thing I read you definitely should check out was a really good article on a guy that it was funny. I met actually. Oh, where is it? I met on the airplane, and he's from South Jersey. TJ Brennan. Okay, so and I know that. Rush, you must have lots of experience with TJ.
A little bit.
Yeah, because he, I rode with his family back from the draft when he got drafted in the second round on the airplane, and he is leading the He's tied for leading the AHL with 38 points in 40 games.
Yep.
With the Marlies right now, and this TJ Brennan has, when he was a kid, he was not just a hockey player; he was a big-time lacrosse player as well. But he has had a really unbelievably successful AHL career for not having really ever done anything in the NHL.
Yeah, he won the Eddie Shore, which is the AHL version of the Norris, a couple years ago. Got signed by the Islanders, got traded to Chicago, was playing with Rockford and the Marlies, traded him back. He's one of these guys who I would categorize as a 4A player. He's a very, very good AHL player. Is really helping out the Marlies because they have a young defense. But he's just not an NHL defenseman. He's had a couple cups of coffee with Florida, Buffalo, and Toronto. But I think maybe he's settling into that veteran AHL role, and he's a very good player. But I think that's where he is. And I mean, he's very valuable to that team, and if they win the Calder Cup, it'll be on the back of guys like T.J. Brennan.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Shattenkirk and Verbata to end the show today. I was
$500 for the puck act. It was a little more than I said.
Yeah, that's still something. I mean, God, goodness, on eBay, $500 for a glow puck.
It's a different place, but yeah, you can get it.
Wow, that's pretty. It's funny because it's like unless you have the technology to actually make this puck glow somehow, what is the point? But yeah, it's pretty interesting. All right, so Shattenkirk, last night talking to some people around the Toronto Maple Leafs scene, and also this morning saying that that this movement is afoot in Toronto to make their forward group very young, but their defensive group not as much, and that they were looking for the right kind of defenders, and they were trying to pick guys out who were probably not going to be able to be signed, that were good players, but couldn't be signed, and this is when they have the money to do this kind of stuff. And Shattenkirk's name, who we've seen connected to lots of Drouin rumors lately, and last year at the trade deadline, or even at the draft, we heard his name mentioned. It's unquestionable that St. Louis for some reason feels like they can't sign him. And moving along, he's gettable, and despite the fact he's a great player, this is a guy that I was told that Mike Babcock really loves, and this is a very much of a Lou Lamoriello type player as well.
Right.
So I could see this. I mean, I could see Shattenkirk being a surprise get for the Maple Leafs, and people don't think of them as buyers necessarily, but they would be buyers in this situation.
Well, I mean, I think it's possible, but it's either one of two things. Either in the deal they would move out a player who's under a longer term deal than Shattenkirk, like a Jake Gardner, if the Blues want to keep their defense the way it is right now. I think with Parayko, with Bouwmeester, and with Pietrangelo, and Shattenkirk another year on the deal, that they more than likely are going to be trading a defenseman for scoring help. If the Leafs are trading a scorer to them, then you're talking Kadri, then you're talking Bozak, then you're talking maybe JVR, but I just don't see them trading JVR right now. But the only way I see them doing this is if then they move out a guy like Phaneuf.
Yeah.
And because Shattenkirk, if you're trading for Shattenkirk and you're trading assets to get Shattenkirk, you're more than likely going to want to sign him to a new deal and keep him long term. And that makes no sense if you're going to pay him $6 to $7 million a year and pay Phaneuf the same amount. So I think if they're getting Shattenkirk, they're moving out Phaneuf.
I agree.
It makes sense. It makes sense. For sure. Enough is enough is
I think
enough.
they're only thinking about moving Shattenkirk because Colton Parayko has worked out so well. It's like they see the writing on the wall.
Well, I mean, and this is something, they do need to do something. They when they get healthy, you gotta think the Blues will be fine. And one of the things I predicted in the beginning of the year, and I still kind of felt like the Blues could have a really subpar regular season this year, and then be like, this could be their year in the playoffs. It really feels like.
But they're still going to have to get shut down goaltending at some point.
Russ, do you think there's any way that the Blues are interested in Phaneuf?
No, I don't think from the money aspect.
Because that would really put them into that would force them to have to trade Shattenkirk.
Right.
And I don't think they want to be there.
I'm talking about trading Shattenkirk in a
for
deal
Phaneuf.
For Phaneuf. I mean, the Leafs would probably have to take back more salary. Somebody you don't like back.
How many more years is Phaneuf's salary? His contract?
5 more years. It's
no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's the problem there. I don't think that's.
Well, I think any let's just say this. Any deal that Phaneuf is getting traded, the Leafs are probably retaining about $1 million to $1.5 million in salary.
Yeah.
So you're talking
but he's probably going to end up going to a team that has a lot less defense.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, they already got a lot of money spent on their defense there. Yes. But yeah, I think it's an interesting thought. I mean, I could see Bozak going. I could see Kadri going.
Hey, the Chicago-Nashville game's on right now.
Yeah, I was going to talk about that.
Bet on it?
And we'll get there. We'll get there. One more thing. Verbata. Verbata's. I saw your tweet. So Montreal. There have been a lot of rumors about Montreal and Duran, and I talked to somebody about Duran, and they said, you think is that a good recipe right now? With what's going on in Montreal to throw a young Jonathan Duran, a French Canadian, into that situation and make him have to deal with it really is not going to make Duran's job any easier. Duran needs a situation where he can thrive right now, not where he's going to be thrown into another pressure cooker. I mean, he's having trouble when they're under pressure in Tampa. Can you imagine in Montreal?
Yeah, a 20-year-old francophone player being probably interpreted as the savior to Montreal.
Right now, it's the worst possible.
Yes.
Now, Radek Verbata is a different story, though. He's been around for a while. I have never been a Verbata fan, and this is a tough one. I mean, I think he obviously he's had really good years. He's had really bad years. He's been up and down. He's when he's playing with the right players, he's very, very good.
Does he score in the playoffs? That's what I have to look up.
He hasn't really been in the playoffs very often because.
The situation.
He plays soft. We have to be real about that. He doesn't score, but he plays soft, and.
Right, and then again, he to me, if he plays soft, and he is definitely a one-way player. Again, this is another non-Terrian type player.
Yeah, he's got 18 points in 42 playoff games.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is that the injury to Sedin probably has knocked out the Canucks as a playoff team. I mean, unless they can.
No, Ryan Miller played great last night.
Ryan Miller had a fantastic game.
Really did.
He's been playing well, but I mean, unless they're getting Brandon Sutter back, I mean, they're gonna be without Sedin for at least a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. That losing games in that time period could be the difference between them making and missing the playoffs. Sure. And Verbata and Hamus are both UFAs, so that's Jim Benning. If he thinks they're not going to make it, those guys are going to be on the market.
Yeah, I mean, Hamus is another interesting one that we're going to be talking about as we get there.
He's still hurt, though. He's still hurt.
He's still hurt with the horrible face injury that he took, but yeah.
And he's a mostly offensive guy, too.
Yeah, he is. Remember the one year where his rights were getting traded everywhere?
Yes. Yeah.
A few years ago at the draft, his rights got traded like 4 times.
Yeah.
People would acquire his rights and then trade the rights they had acquired. It was like it was crazy. That was the beginning of the end of. That was like the beginning of the craziness of buying rights of players.
Yeah.
He got passed around like Christian Ehrhoff did.
Right. Or never mind. I'm not gonna say. All right. Let's Chicago, Nashville. You were right, Russ. I was wrong. I really thought
it's a good thing we only bet fictitiously.
Yes, and it is a good thing that we only bet fictitiously.
Your wife is happy about that.
Yeah, but it really felt like it's the right situation for Nashville last night. It really did. It felt like this was if Nashville was going to get out of it, get out of their slump, it was going to be against their hated rival, Blackhawks. But the Blackhawks, just like Patrick Kane, is just running away with the
He's only got 71 points. What do you mean running away?
He's running away with the MVP of the league right now in my mind. Patrick Kane is.
He is.
He's got a 15-point lead on Jamie Benn. That's pretty impressive.
Do you know no American-born player has ever won the NHL MVP? That's pretty crazy. But he's
you know what? Because Leach won the Conn Smythe.
Yeah.
And so
And no NHL player, no American-born player has ever won the scoring title either.
You mean Jose Theodore wasn't born in Massachusetts?
Nope.
LaFontaine, I guess, was just in the wrong era, or he probably would have.
Yeah, but he never won it. So the closest thing, I think the only thing that ever, Brett Hull won. Brett Hull had won the what would have been the Rocket Richard, but I think that was before the Rocket Richard even existed.
The year he scored 80
yeah.
goals.
But no Americans ever won either of those awards. He could win both of them very easily.
He could.
Patrick Kane, he's on pace to do that. This is like he's not a big time goal scorer like this. This 30 goals for him. He's on a.
I think he's on a mission. After what happened during the offseason, I think he's out to prove something, and he's doing it right now.
Yeah, he's definitely doing it. You can't argue with that. And who would have thought that Anisimov would have been this player?
Listen, I've always liked Anisimov. I think the Rangers valued him to some degree, but never used him right. They always switched around his line mates. It was always bad. He was always able to score goals. He always was a big player who skated well. So I think this was always there, and now he actually has. Because anytime I would interview him, it would always be, "Wow, I'm finally happy I have set line mates," and then 2 weeks later he wouldn't.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Panarin. If Kane wins the Hart, and the Rocket Richard, I don't know if it's going to be that, but possibly. Panarin is the leading candidate right now for the Calder, and it's funny because 3 or 4 teams were very close, apparently, to signing Panarin before the Blackhawks signed him last April.
Yep.
2 of them were the Canadiens and the Maple Leafs, and he decided to go to Chicago.
Yep. Penguins were also in on that. That's all the time we have for today. As we fall down this echo well. I think we're okay now. Anyway, remember, guys, without the buzz, it is just hockey. And go Predators. Talk to you soon.